Hey guys, we're in the shop this morning working on a Shimano crank. I've had this thing fall off on me a couple times on the trail, and it's been a complete pain in the neck. But I figured out what's going on with it. it I'm sure I'm not the only person that's had this issue. This, of course, this all needs cleaned up, but there's a little hole there on the crank, and there's a part. This guy right here actually gets put in the top of your crank there when you put your bolts in, and that will actually keep your crank in place, kind of like, I guess it's like a little safety measure there. But the crank slides on there, and then this nifty little thing, you install that, and you need one of these stupid things to go in. This is it's a plastic one. They make some other ones, but that's an adapter to take those Shimano nuts off of there, and then you can put a 6mm Allen wrench in there and get the thing off. This thing is a piece of junk. It's all plastic. Get it to zoom there. It does have threads on it, so that just snugs your crank up before you can actually torque these guys down and hold your crank on there. But Bergtech makes a replacement for that, and I'll put a link to it. I'm actually going to reinstall this thing, put this clip in here. The old one completely broke, and we're going to put that on there. That's actually billet aluminum, and it has threads on it. So hopefully this doesn't happen again. Now, the last time I was on the trail, I ended up just torquing these things down. I stuck this thing back on there, torqued them down, and it did get me off the trail. I was a couple miles out in the middle of nowhere, but it did get me back to the truck. So anyway, I figured out what's going on with it, found out where to order the parts, and we got this thing rolling again. So I'll put this thing back together and show you what we're dealing with. And it's not too bad. I mean, obviously all these parts are worn and dirty, and everything needs cleaned up real nice, but I'm not gonna bother with all that right now. This guy goes back on here where that hole is in the top. It's covered in grease, but that's gonna line up here, and it's obviously the opposite of your pedal of your other crank. That will slide back in there, and then you can put this thing back in. Or in my case, I had to, it's not putting it back in, putting it in for the first time, I guess. The other one, you just completely snapped. And then take this guy, the replacement for that, and that'll fit right in there, and then you snug that up. I'm not exactly sure what the torque specs are on that. Pretty sure the torque specs on these are like 15 Newton meters or something. Let's see, 6 mil. I'm sorry, no, that's not a 6 mil. Those are 6 mil. This is a that's an 8. And that'll get this thing just snugged up, and that'll kind of hold you in place. I'm trying to do this one-handed. And that guy's in the right spot. And then you can put your bolts back in. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite just on the end of these guys, and then torque them up till they're snug. Just do a little dab on the end of here, get it all over my workbench, you know. But that should make for a little more enjoyable ride today. Alright, now we can put our bolts back in here. Now this guy, I put that through this hole first, and then what I found is easier is to flip that thing up and get this one started, and then push this one down. I don't know if that's the proper way to do that, but seems to have worked pretty well. I guess you could probably also do it the other way. You could probably have the solid hole here and then have the open hole here. But yeah, it snaps down in there pretty good. And then just torque these guys up. And I did notice, after I was saying 15 Newton meters on these, I did notice that the crank actually says on here 12 to 14 Newton meters. So set those 12 to 14, and shouldn't have any more issues with that. So that's pretty much it. That should solve my problems. One more thing I do want to say is, if when you're doing this, when you're trying to get this guy out of here, this is a pain. Not everybody has one of these things. So what does work, if you need to, grab a big straight screwdriver and you can stick it in there far enough, you know, wedge it in there, and you can get this cap out like that. Of course it does mess your threads up there a little bit, but not a big deal. If you have one of these things, it definitely saves you. You can start it by hand, and then stick your Allen wrench in there, but I'm not going to worry. I'm not worried about messing those teeth up on there, because this guy going right in the trash. So anyway, if you're having issues with your Shimano crank, the same way I was, this is that should be the fix. So thanks for checking us out. Have a good day.